Goddess T, how are ye? Welcome to the Candlelittales podcast, where we are talking about the story of Clionadh's wave, Tonn Clionadh. My name is Sorcha, and I'm sitting here with my brother over the Zoom. How's it going, Aron?
Ew. All right, not too bad. How are you getting on? Thanks very much for doing the Zoom OBS thing for us.
I'm not actually doing OBS for these because I only have to do that when it's a live stream.
All right.
Yeah, no, this is literally we're just having a Zoom call with our nice Patreon bought microphones. Thanks, Patreon. Use our
Thanks,
sound.
Patreon.
They're super shiny and nice.
They're very good. They're very good.
But yeah, we're doing this and then we are converting the Zoom recording. And you have also your Patreon bought nice phone, which does your camera work for you. Which I don't. I'm not sure if I should actually say that I can't set that up, but I definitely didn't. And I'm not entirely sure how to. So for now, we're going to go with I can't do that. Okay?
Yeah.
Right now, I can't do it right now because we don't have time.
And also, what we're doing right now is not talking about phones, but although it was a nice segue into the Patreon thing, patreon.com/candlelittales. That's literally how we've been keeping ourselves going, ourselves sane, and able to buy things for the podcast. So thank you so much, all Patreon supporters. You're great, and we love the messages you send to us, and we love hearing from you from Instagram, social media, and all forms of walks of life. We will have, when this comes out, Sorcha, finished the storytelling course, the Arc of Storytelling. That's mental.
That's right.
We're recording this in advance, and
we are. It messes with our brains a little bit because it gets a bit timey-wimey. Like we will have done, it's past participles and whatnot get very confusing. We will have done the first arc of storytelling, which is like so far going great. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the rest of it. And we will also have put out the start date, I think, for our second course in storytelling.
If you listen to this and you haven't heard about it, get in touch, and there might be a few places left. They snap up pretty quickly, but we decided just to do another one because people wanted to do it and we wanted to do it, and it's a great way of connecting, great way of teaching people what we know, and exploring Irish mythology with a whole gang of new faces and getting to know people. It's great. So this episode is actually not to sell storytelling courses, but actually to talk about Clionadh's wave. So
yes, Tonn Clionadh, which I really like, is one of the things about this story that I absolutely love, is that her wave is the 9th wave. And you can go to that beach and you can hear her wave, and it is the 9th wave. But as anybody who's been to a beach knows, the difficulty is not in counting to 9. The difficulty is going like, okay, which one is the first wave? And like, how many waves are they? Because do they go 1 to 9 and then back to 1 again? Or do they go to like 35? Or do they go to like 117? Never specified. It's very... It's one of those things that comes up in Irish mythology sometimes. Like, do you remember the bargain with Bress, the price he pays for his life?
Oh,
is he tells them what day to sow on that they'll get twice the harvest, and what day to reap on that they'll get twice the harvest and twice the yield. And like it's the hoeing and the sowing and the reaping. And they ask him, okay, fine, we'll spare your life in exchange for this precious bit of knowledge. And he says Tuesday. Fucker doesn't say which Tuesday, does he? No, he does not. Cunning little bollocks. But it's very it's a very Clionadh's wave thing where it's like, it's the 9th wave. Yeah, it's the 9th of question mark.
But I know I do love it, and I think like it already just the 9th wave. Well, because as if the 9th wave would automatically be bigger. Like you should know, really, especially in Glandore, if you go down there, in West Cork, and you should definitely know when you see it, because it's obviously Tonn Clionadh. But the thing was, apparently you'd hear it. It's kind of like the Banshee, and this is why Clionadh fascinates me. She's named in some sources as the Queen of the Banshee. She has one of those kind of double-edged kind of characteristics where she's healing and beautiful and has those beautiful birds flying around her, healing everyone, and then also she can be cutting and cruel and cut you down if you don't fucking cut the hell on. So she's basically like every woman I've ever met.
She's certainly like every goddess, which is like, there is this wonderful, I think that's always like when we're talking about kind of feminine energy as being this beautiful, nurturing thing. It's like every goddess I've ever met has a side to her where if you cross her particular line, like destruction, utter annihilation.
You've met a lot of them.
Like
Personally.
I have personally met several in my time, okay? Whether through stories or through some other medium. And they're all like that. They all share that. The line is different for each of
Just
them.
kicking it with Brigid, you know. Oh,
You know, as you do.
Order up on a Wednesday.
How do you not?
Okay.
Maybe
Right.
you should start.
That's what I'm going to do.
You were literally talking about it last week. You went swimming with Brigid last week. Don't be talking to me like you've never met a goddess.
All right. Okay. I have a bone to pick with Lady Gregory in the story, and she pissed me rightly off because the old source of this story starts with Clionadh of the fair hair who lived in Tirtangara. It was the time of the Fianna, and then she goes on about Kevon, his adventures, his exploits, goes to Tirtangara, meets a one, brings her back. You basically don't get to know her at all. Like she's just sidelined. It's called Tonn Clionadh, and she's not the main character in the story. I'm like, for fuck's sake, Lady G, like you did some great stuff and all, but like surely that story is about, and like I kind of did a bit of over and backing just to kind of pay homage to it as well, but like because there's very little to find out about her, and I wanted to make it a kind of a full story. So
yeah, you gotta go to Tirtangara first, and you did, and I like the way that you kind of, built up her life in Tirtangara before this Curragh set off, and like her kind of, the pressures on her to get married, and the fact that she doesn't really see anyone who catches her eye, and then when she does, and she actually leaves. It's a little bit of a reverse Oisin and Tiernan Og, isn't it? Because you've got instead of the beautiful woman coming to Ireland and sweeping off the man of the Fianna, it's the man of the Fianna going to the other world and going, "Here, come back home with me."
Yeah.
But again, like the ending, and actually similar to Oisin as well. You can't go home again. She doesn't get to go home.
It is kind of beat for beat the same, really, because there's not much about Kevon after that, but he's not killed or he's not anything. I think, my thinking of it was that Manannán kind of got him lost in the forest and missed for a while or something, for whatever reason he had. But again, it's kind of like you're not really sure what the crack is, but it is essentially just the same story arc as Oisin and Tiernan Og, and she's just whisked away, as you say. But like that life in Tirtangara, I went down one of those wormholes that you're going to allow yourself in storytelling of like, okay, here's what we know about Tirtangara. It's called the Land of Promise. Does that mean it was filled of promises? I don't know. What does that mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's the one that Cormac McCart visits, isn't it? In Cormac McCart and the Land of Promise, and it has all these like allegorical sites going on, but it's also the land where like the pig comes back to life again the next day after you eat it in the evening. And like the grain stores, once empty, are refilled the next day. So it's a land of like plenty and abundance, and this kind of, there's this magical power that Clionadh has that stops all suffering and all kind of pain. So it's a there's something kind of wonderful and magical about it.
And you have, because it's Manannán's home as well, it might be the Isle of Man. Like it might actually be an island, associated with him, because again, he's supposed to be the king of the Land of Promise. And there's a number of people named in the Lady Gregory section, all men, that I didn't bother putting in, because I was like, for fuck's sake. But like, there's weird kind of throwing the really weird challenges to impress Clionadh, and she's kind of exalted and adorned from everybody there, and everybody wants to impress her. And it's kind of what's the story? What's the Disney did a version of it? Your one with the Indian girl.
Do you mean the Pocahontas story?
Pocahontas. Yes.
Okay, cool.
Hey,
I was like,
sorry.
I was like, for the longest time, I was like, are you talking about the girl in Aladdin?
No.
I guess it's like the Indian girl. She's really more Middle Eastern, and Pocahontas really more Native American.
I mean, all right, sorry for growing up with the word Indian stuck in my head.
I know.
It's not my fault.
I'm kidding.
Dickheads called it that ages ago. They were wrong.
And as we all know, our thoughts calcify at age 7, and then we can't do anything about our opinions ever again.
It's
just
very hard.
just done. It's just there.
They fucking cementified it. What was your word last week?
By last week, you mean earlier this evening when we recorded last week's episode? I said concretize.
Concretize. Cement. I fucked.
Cementify. Do you know what? Cementify can be a word, Aaron, if you want it to be a word.
Awesome. Cementify. I like how you have to burst my bubble by going like, someone's listening to this in, linear time and realizing that we've just fucked with time. The time.
I mean, look, most people who do podcasts, I know this is new for us, but most people who do podcasts record them in advance and record several on the same day and then release them later. I know like we have really struggled with this, and it's really kind of messes with us to be like, oh my God, I have to talk about the future as if it's the past. But how? But like this is actually pretty normal way of having a podcast. So I think we can all, take a deep breath and calm down.
Sure. I mean, one of my favorite images of that whole story, though, in terms of like the journey to the other world, and that's where like timey-wimey, you don't know if time moves differently or if it changes or speeds up, slows down. This wall of water that Manannán is riding on, and then we get the 9 waves thing, this repetition of like he dips below for the length of 9 waves, he can't be seen, and then he comes riding up on top of the 10th one. So it's just like, or the 9th one. So it's just like, and you've seen the movies where like the boat is out at sea and just like dipping down, and the sea is just this humongous thing.
Totally.
And if you've ever been in a boat in any bit of weather, you know how like terrifying that is.
And you can be on the shore thinking, gosh, it looks a small bit choppy. And then you get out in the waves and you're like, the ocean is vast and I am tiny. And it's a very
speck.
I remember hearing the story from a Dutch yachting fan that was the father of Neil's girlfriend, actually. A couple of years ago, he loved his yachts and he loved going out to sea in his yachts, and he brought a friend out one time, to show him how great it was. And his friend went real quiet on about the 3rd day out, just like really, really quiet, just kind of stopped talking to him. And your man was like, oh, he's clearly like just in the buzz of like the vast ocean, and it's just like he's in his own space and it's great and it's fine, and assumed he was having a lovely time. And then when they got back into harbour, your man was like, I'm never doing that again. Because when they got out of view of land and it was just sky and sea, he found it completely existentially terrifying. Because they were in a yacht. Like, this is a sail-powered ship. This is not a motorboat. This is like this has to be piloted by somebody who knows where they're going. And he did not have any idea where he was going or how to orient himself at all. And it's always kind of, I've often thought of it as like, yeah, for some of us going out into that space, and you often talk about it with the sea swimming, for some of us, it's really exhilarating. That sense of like wide open spaces. And for some of us, the exact same feeling is just like horror, absolute cosmic horror. I am small. I am insignificant. I don't mean anything. And there's stuff under my feet. And if it decided to swim up and chomp on me, there is absolutely nothing I could do about it.
Yeah, it is funny. And it's interesting what I don't really quite understand what it is about the mentality I have anyway about going into even deep waters, even choppy waters, even just like of that, like I kind of like getting tossed around. I kind of like getting like, oh shit, I'm in a riptide. Better swim really hard here. A little bit like, don't fucking do it, guys. But over the summer, my girlfriend and I were swimming and we got caught in the riptide and pulled out in Sligo. And it was a beach I didn't know, highly populated by people. And I just kind of put the head down, and I was just kind of swimming with new goggles and testing. I was like, oh yeah. And I looked up, I was like, oh dear. I did the whole little, I'm a good bit further out than I started this one. Fuck, I'm in a bit of a, for fuck's sake, Aaron. So I thought the tide was going out, but actually I was caught in a riptide, and I belted it back. Now I'm a strong enough swimmer, not amazing. I belted it back and caught up with my girlfriend and her family, who were all just freaking out. Luckily, there was a few. They were all then they got pulled out. Luckily, a few surfers came over, and again, like it was terrifying. It had them all shaken to the core, and like I swam out to get more surfers to go in and get them, and with the buoyancy and the ability to
Mm.
kick. But like it's that feeling of being like completely completely out of your comfort zone.
You're
You're
out of you're
everything.
literally out of your element, because like your
Mm.
element as a human is basically the land. And like when you were back in the ocean, I mean, we're definitely creatures that can swim and love swimming and are able to do it, but like it's not our environment. Like, you try to run in the water and you're like, oh god, there's so much resistance. You try to swim, going scuba diving, you think you're doing pretty good, you think you're moving pretty well in the water, and then you see like a turtle that is the size of a truck and it just goes vdoomf, and you're like, oh no, I'm not. I am like
Or
as graceless as that thing is on the land is how graceless I am fucking numbling around in here with all my limbs that don't do anything.
yeah, or you see a fucking seal if you ever go swimming with one, and they're just
Yes.
like as
And they're just
in the
swim
beach, like,
circles around you.
and they're just
Make
so great. You're like, that's what all the blubber's for. You're like,
That's what
I'm
it's all for.
freezing, you little fat fucker, you.
And then you see them drag themselves up on land and you're like, that is me in the ocean now. That's what I look like in the ocean to the sea.
Opposite with the opposite. So
I can get up and run around, but you look like a big clob.
and so that's where Kevon is in. And I kind of had that idea of like, okay, what does it feel like when you're literally the mist descends and suddenly you're seeing these giant waves.
Mm.
You're like, okay, oh fuck, and just nothing's going to save you, only a guy on a horse, obviously.
Like it's like again, it's that lovely thing that happens in Irish myths when people get lost in a forest or in the mist or in the ocean, and it's like you don't know what, and you get that feeling here as well when the mist comes down, don't you? When you're walking through a thick fog and you're like, literally anything could come out of this, and I don't feel like I would be surprised. And so there's something about, like, I'm thinking of times that I was in boats at sea being tossed around. There is something about that feeling because you're so at the mercy of the elements and you have so little control over anything, that if there's ever a moment for divinity to visit you, that is the moment where you're like, oh yeah, no, sure, personification of the ocean. Hi, please don't drown me, which you could do with absolutely no thought and zero effort. Like, you can see why people who fished, we're an island nation. You can see why anybody who goes fishing has a god of the ocean. And Manannán is like one of the most important ones. And Clionadh is his daughter, isn't she?
Well, so this is again, it's hard to find facts about her. So she's either his daughter or his wife. Hard to know.
The wife would make a bit more sense of the ending, but a bit less sense of the beginning, where
Yeah,
he's trying to find her a boyfriend. I mean, I'm
yeah.
sure maybe that's a thing that some couples do, but
Lady Gregory had a different father named. It's either her. No, it's not his Harper's. It's like fuck. I can't think of it now. I think I said it in the story. It's one of Manannán's men is her father in this particular version. Again, in other versions, I found that he's named as no mention of a mother, but this idea that everyone loves her. She has these magical birds that spread healing and love and joy no matter where they are, and they sing around her the whole time, which I just love. And then she has this copper cork. Now, a big jump in terms of like, let's just call a spade here when there's information missing. She is known for having a copper cork. Then all of a sudden, Kevon finds a copper cork on Glandore beach. Like, she, in my mind, must have sent it to him unknowingly or knowingly, either way.
consciously or unconsciously. Maybe she was fishing for men of the Fianna. That's a pretty good way to catch a man of the Fianna, in fairness, if that was what you were inclined to
Give him
do.
a boat.
Well, like,
Give him a
stick
copper
something
boat.
weird somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, Stick something weird somewhere. There's so many Fianna stories start with they were out hunting and they saw something real weird. And unlike 99.999% of the population who would go, "Ooh, it's a bit weird," they go, "Hey lads, let's poke it with a stick, see what it does. Maybe it bites. That'll be fun."
It's absolutely jumping the thing.
Yeah,
And
jump in the copper currach and surely it will spring to life and carry me off into the ocean as they usually do.
so apparently there's like some form of copper reserve or something, or in Glandore Beach. So again, I fucking love how stories
Class.
kind of just like take a little bit of that and then just has copper everywhere, and just like the bronze light and the illuminating this and the copper currach, and just I fucking love that. And it's like, yeah, there's a bit of fucking copper
There's a bit of
in the
copper in the
rocks,
hills.
like.
Well, like
Um,
there was quite a bit actually. We had a Wicklow gold rush, not in the 20th century.
wrong side of the
Um,
country though.
yeah, no, but like there was a lot of precious metals in
Yeah,
Ireland that are no longer. We've extracted them all at this stage, but early
fuck's sake.
Irish monasteries. That was one of the reasons for their great wealth was the gold and the
Oh,
copper
absolutely,
and the bronze
absolutely.
that they were able to mine in Ireland.
But apparently, Clionadh has a rock up by Mallow as well. Tonn Clionadh is there, and her mound is another potential dwelling place. And that's the castle is. She was supposed to have actually stayed with Kevon for unbeknownst amount of time. I kind of set it over
Mm.
a shorter amount of time just for my head. To be honest, I was like, it doesn't really fit. Again, Rue actually, our musician and co storyteller, he did a beautiful. He started off the candlelittales for kids kind of idea with the story of Tonn Clionadh, because his niece is named Clionadh. And
Nice.
I'm very lucky that we've started doing this, because now we have a nephew and he's in Guatemala, and Neil is telling him or playing him stories that are recorded by us, so he'll get used to our voice, so he won't be completely terrified when he sees us. It's a great way to do it. Uh,
Lovely.
it's a lovely thing to do, and to be able to do, especially with modern technology, of just
Mhm.
even recording into a phone and having the sound of a voice be familiar to somebody, which
Mhm.
is kind of gorgeous. Now, luckily, me and my brother have the same voice, so it's fine. Very
Yeah,
similar.
no, he'll know your voice anyway because he'll just be like, "Dad."
Yeah, like smaller, less gorilla like
Yeah,
version.
or as a friend of mine once said when she was staying at my house and our uncle, who looks a lot like our dad, walked into the room. She went, "Oh my God, there's two of them," which I feel like little Anthony Noel might think when he sees you for the first time. Second, second one. You know, those
Come
great
here.
videos that you see of twins where they are of like dads who are twins and their babies just being like, "What is happening?" Your phone just went off there for a second.
One moment, I'll just. Yeah, one sec. I'm just gonna. We'd have to edit this bit out.
We will have to edit this bit out. Where nobody's like fucking hoovering back there, is there? Are they?
No, I think my phone died.
Oh,
It
do you
was
know what it
plugged
is?
in.
Do you know what it is? It's the computer fan.
Right,
That's
small bit of edit on that one, unfortunately. So sorry about that.
that's all right. I was trying to figure out where the sound was coming from, and I was like, "Oh, my computer is overheating because it's been on Zoom for quite a while." That's fine. That's what that is. Okay,
Just get
when
this
you're ready,
down.
I'll
Let's
just do a
just.
clap and.
I am ready. So sorry, there was a slight glitch there. My camera died.
Aron is now at a different camera angle if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're listening to this on the podcast, nothing has changed.
Anyway, I've lost my train of thought now, because we were talking about. I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you a question. Tell me what you know about Tir Changra and the other world, the other islands, the place the other folk dwell, and kind of why that is the thing that it is.
Well, see, Tir Changra, this is now. Oh no, I might go down a rabbit hole, Aron. I can see the rabbit hole opening up in front of me. Because Tir Changra is Manannán's home, and Manannán is not actually one of the Tuatha Dé Danann, which is the interesting thing about Manannán MacLear, because he's kind of considered to be one of the Tuatha Dé Danann, but he appears to be an older deity that is associated with the oceans. And so he his dwelling place is Tir Changra, which is sometimes the Isle of Man. But he also was the one who created the other world in Ireland by waving his cloak between the Tuatha Dé Danann and the Sons of Mill at the end of the Battle of Talchu. That's one of the things that in some of the versions of that he's described as doing, because if Manannán waves his cloak between two people, they can never meet again. Because he waved his cloak between two peoples, they were like split. That splitting happened in Ireland, where you had the folk above ground and the folk under hill. And so they're like, whether Tir Changra is part of the place under hill or not, or if it's a place apart again, is a little bit, open to interpretation. And then, of course, you have the islands of the other world, which we're going to get onto a lot more next month when we're looking at the voyage tales, where you have all of these exotic islands that people get to and then get back to Ireland again, having kind of had all these bizarre experiences. I have a little bit of a pet theory about that I'll get onto next month. But next month, I repeat myself too much anyway.
Feels like you do, but there's a lot of, I don't think so.
It's a lot of stuff. I'm sure I've had this rant before. I usually have, but no, it's just kind of, so yeah, there's Tir Changra, and like I said, that's the place that Cormac McCart is supposed to have visited in that story, which is one of the podcasts we've done previously. And in that one, it doesn't seem to be a separate island, because he gets there by walking from Tara, and famously, you cannot get to the Isle of Man by walking from Tara, because there's a sea in the way. So even though there is a mist, Cormac McCart somehow gets there. So that, in the way of these things, doesn't quite make sense, but like, it doesn't really need to make sense, because Manannán is able to do things with mist, and he's able to do things with the ocean, and he is also this, like, he has this wonderful kind of shifting quality to him, where he is able to treat the ocean as if it is land, and he's able to switch in between those things. And he also has the horse Ainver, who's able to go as easily on water as it is on land. And he's got a boat called Scuabhtaine that is able to go as easily on land as it is on water. So he's kind of got this quality where he treats them both as the same thing, which I always think is really cool, because like, he'll come up in a chariot and be like, "Here, how are you lads?" Just pacing the chariot along beside a boat, going, "Yeah, no, you think this is a wave. It is a grassy plain to me right now. So that is how I'm dealing with it for the moment. And then in a minute, I'll go under, because I can."
Yeah, and again, like, there's the whole, like, the stories of like the country under wave, and this idea of like the there being a space underneath the sea where there's just a lot of land as well, and
it's like a bubble under the waves. But come here, let's talk a little bit about Clionadh herself, because I think she's really interesting. She's got a bunch of really interesting associations.
Sure.
Especially when we get into the kind of latter half of the story, where she comes back as the sort of patron saint of Blarney. Like,
I fucking love this.
I love it. But like, she's got these healing birds.
Yeah.
She's associated with the gift of eloquence, or at least the gift of, if not eloquence, then like charming palaver that you will be able to, like, because he didn't like convince the queen to let him build Blarney Castle. She said that's a load of Blarney, and that's where he got his name.
So
or she said to
I
him.
I kind of squidged two historical facts together a little bit of what fuck it, like, never let truth get in the way of a good story. What I can tell, right, is there was certainly a lot of court cases around the whole building of Blarney, and Cormac McCarthy's built Blarney, and they were an Irish family, and they were probably fucking Norman, God knows.
They were some of the Gaelic. They were one of the Gaelic lords.
McCarthy's is a very old Irish Gaelic name. So like, the fact that they actually built the place is like, what? And is associated with them. So they must have basically got away with fucking murder or some fucking form of it to be able to do it. And so the only fucking way you can explain that is by going, I just kissed a rock and called upon a goddess to help me out with it, because that's the only fucking way I got away with it, because there's no way it should have been allowed to happen.
How they actually got it to happen, whether they did it with permission or not.
And so there was a number of attempts of like during Queen Elizabeth's time of kind of surrounding them or drawing them out or trying to fight them. And every time they went to negotiate with Cormac McCarthy, he'd just confuse everybody. And that's where Queen Elizabeth going, I'm not fucking sitting down with you because everything you fucking say is Blarney. Or which she says isn't much more.
I'm sure she swore exactly that amount of times with that amount of vehemence and that Corkin accent.
Well, essentially, whatever he promised he wouldn't do, and whatever he said was going to happen wouldn't happen, and whatever way it was just like it just fucking confused the English. They were like, "But he told us one thing. He told us he'd be here. He's not here. He's very much unmanly. Like I'm very confused. I want to strip him down with all of our hundreds of men and kill him and spank him very royally." And that's more like
you can't because he's too confusing.
And he just like he came around the back with like 10 men fucking throwing stones again. Fuck you, get off me land.
So she's associated with him and his particular brand of eloquence, which is really just confusing people by talking at them a lot.
A lot. You gotta try it, guys. Just talk, use loads of words and point them in one direction and give them directions somewhere else.
Also with the Banshee.
Yeah.
So she's got healing, like in terms of the qualities of association, you've got the healing bird song.
Yeah.
You've got the gift of this peculiar kind of eloquence that just confuses people into submission. And you've got the scream of the Banshee, the queen of the Banshee. Like she's got range, man. She's got vocal range.
I love this idea of her being known as the queen of the Banshee, especially and kind of only a Cork thing. It's kind of only like down here. It's because like we had one great goddess and she has her dune in kind of North Cork. She has a beach that's known by her because I think what makes sense to me is the sound of the waves gets particularly hard and loud down there in Glandore, and so they're like there's kind of a screech or a sound or a real that's Tonn Clionadh, that's the sound of Clionadh's. Sorry, my phone said to turn itself on there and make a noise. But there's a sound that's some form of mystic or has a mystic link to it, and that's kind of what the Banshee has as well, as like this ethereal, mystical, scary screech to forewarn of death. And so then she kind of, the Banshee, whatever about the Banshee, we got the queen of the Banshee, right? Her fucking name is Clionadh. She fuck you all right up or something. That's kind of where I've gone with it.
I'm sure that's exactly how it happened.
I kind of think it must be. Cork people just
Cork people have a little bit of a we've a little bit of a
thing is better. If you think yours is good, ours is better.
Ours is better.
So
ours is always better.
She's the queen of everything, and you have a Banshee. We have the fucking queen of the Banshee. And I don't have too many sources for it, but I love it.
It's just your instinct as a Cork man is to go, this is probably the buzz. This is probably what it's about. Look, I can't prove it, but I feel it in my soul.
I'm not saying she's the best. I'm just saying she's probably the best. All right.
She's like, the Carlsberg of Banshees. Probably the best Banshee in Ireland. Love it.
I
so
love her.
It's a lovely story. We've had a very slightly giddy chat about it, but I think it's a very beautiful story as well of love and loss and longing.
I also just love the fact that like everyone's going up to Blarney Castle when you're allowed to go up and kiss and slobber over rocks like we did in the age before the bygone era of when we didn't give a fuck about germs all that much. Oh dear, that mightn't be coming back. Anyway, but like so many hundreds of people and thousands during the summers would come to Blarney Castle, go up the stone steps and kiss the stone, not knowing the reason they were kissing it was kind of in some sort of a way paying homage to the Clionadh, which I just love.
This is the thing with goddesses. Sometimes you don't realize when you were praying to an ancient pagan goddess. You're just doing a thing that you think is just a thing that everybody does, and you don't realize that you are venerating a deity that you were unaware of.
People
but that's why they stick around.
People are all, like I've come across. I told that story live a few years ago for the first time, and it was great. And since I've kind of got a few more little details and stuff. But I for Christmas, Mangan's book, 32 words for a field, last words of the Irish language. He has a beautiful little chapter or little segment here about Clionadh and talking to a fellow who tells him that story, which is just lovely. And he went to Clionadh and he's a beautiful writer, and we're always getting asked for sources and books as well. And I just think that one's a beautiful one as well. 32 words for field is
I
the name
look
of it.
forward to stealing it from you and reading it.
I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed this chat. I don't know why I have a
As
knife
did
in my
I.
hand. Whoops.
I don't know. It's a little odd. Oh no, I know. It's because you promised your girlfriend that you would start cooking dinner for her at 6:30, and it is now just gone 6:30, and
Shit.
a knife materialized in your hand to expedite the process.
I've got to
So
chop some garlic.
you're gonna go chop some garlic.
And if you want to see what size of a knife I'm holding, well, and you're only listening to this on YouTube, well, you should go on, and you're only listening to us on a podcast, well, you should go onto the YouTube channel and hit subscribe, shouldn't you? Because we have recently released not only I'm going to just keep on waving this knife around until people start fucking subscribing to the fucking channel, won't I? Because you fucking don't, I'm not threatening them. I'm just pointing them fucking
No,
knife.
no, it's never threatening when a man waves a wife around at you and says, "Do what I want or else."
But people have been asking us for extra content and stuff like that, and we've just Oisin has been going through the catalogs of finally getting a bit of space because Rue is doing the podcast music for the stuff right now, and he's going back through the catalogs of our live shows and putting them up online. So onto the YouTube channel.
Onto the YouTube. You can see me when I had hair that I liked so many years ago.
You can see
me last year. This time last year.
Very small amount of hair before I was just left to grow because
before Aron was left to grow in the dark like a mushroom. Just look at the head in him now. He's putting it into braids and everything. He doesn't know what to do with himself.
It's very fun. It's great. Jesus, I love braiding my hair. It's why I don't ever want to cut it. Please don't make me cut it.
I think you're fine, John. You know what? You will cut your hair when somebody casts you in a thing and makes you cut your hair.
Oh yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that's the only time you're going to do it.
That's the only time I ever cut my hair anyway.
That's it. Do you know what that's it? It's just you haven't been casting anything for a long time because there's been nothing live happening at all. And like the things you have been casting are like medieval European stuff where it's like, sure, your hair can be shoulder length. We don't care.
Yeah, that was actually a lot of fun. Francis Assisi. Anyway, all right, let's not go down that wormhole of a tangent. Fuck's sake.
Enough wormholes.
Let's talk about Aron's acting career. Well, I was, you might remember me from...
Oh, I'm cutting you off. All right. Thanks very much for listening, guys. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on patreon.com/candlelittales if you want to throw us a few quid. You don't have to, but we really appreciate it when you do. Thanks, thanks, mate. We will see you next time. Oh, yeah. Next story. Bring your tissues and
Jesus Christ,
something to hug, because that's one that I did. And when I did that
comes
live,
with a warning as well. I think fucking it's a trigger warning for anyone.
Trigger warning for everything. Not safe for life. When I did that live, that was the one where nobody would make eye contact with me at the break because they were a little bit too upset with me. So just bear in mind, it's very, very sad. Don't listen to it before you have to go and do something important. Listen to it when you have a little bit of space. That's your warning. That's your warning.
Listening to this chronologically. Otherwise, you've gone backwards and gone, fuck you, it's a bit late now, you prick.
Now you tell me. Anyway.
Yeah. So we're listening to Sive's story from Sive's perspective, which is, it's a bit glum, lads, not going to lie. I felt like crying. I mean, I would say that's saying something, but it's not. Yeah, I cry.
You cry a lot. You're a crier. We know this. But no, I mean, yeah, it's rough. Enjoy.
Chop some garlic. Goodbye.
Chop some garlic. Bye.
Bye.